You know, when you hear about a government shutdown, it can all sound pretty abstract, right? Just politics. But this time is different. We're looking at a situation where a political standoff is about to hit millions of Americans right where it hurts the most, their ability to put food on the table. So let's just get right to the heart of it. The number you see here, 42 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's not just a statistic. That's 1 out of every 8 people in this country. And right now, all 42 million of them are at risk of losing their food assistance. So yeah, this isn't some far-off policy debate in Washington. This is a real, looming crisis for millions of families.
Okay, so the big question is, how on earth did we get here? Well, here's what we're going to break down. We'll start with the human cost, what this really means for people. Then we'll get into the blame game, the question of responsibility. After that, we'll see how the courts got involved, look at some, let's say, contrasting priorities, and finally, we'll see exactly where this whole impasse stands right now.
All right, first up, the human cost, because this shutdown is about so much more than just locked doors on federal buildings. It's about a lifeline that could be cut for millions of people. So the program we're talking about here is SNAP. You've probably heard of it. It stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Basically, it helps low-income folks with their grocery bills, giving them about $186 a month on average. Now here's the kicker. Congress actually planned for a situation just like this. They set up an emergency reserve fund. So problem solved, right? Well, no. The administration is flat out refusing to use that money, and that's what's turned this whole thing into a full-blown crisis. You might be thinking, okay, so why doesn't Congress just, fix it? And that's the thing, they can't. The House of Representatives has literally not held a vote since September 19th. We're talking more than a month and a half. The whole legislative branch is basically on ice, completely unable to do anything to solve this.
And of course, this leads us right to the big, messy question. Whose fault is all this? There was this really tense moment between a reporter and a Democratic congressman that just perfectly sums up the whole political divide here.
So a reporter asks Representative Joe Neguse, a Democrat, hey, what are you guys going to do if SNAP benefits get cut off? But Neguse, he just stops the reporter right there and basically says, you're asking the wrong question. He totally reframes it. For him, the real story wasn't about how Democrats might react. It was about what the administration was already doing, or maybe more accurately, not doing.
And if you dig into his position, it's pretty clear. He's not just saying the administration is being inactive. He's arguing they're actually breaking the law. He's like, look, we Democrats are here in D.C. ready to go. But he points out that the House Republicans, they've been out of town for 6 weeks. So from where he stands, the question shouldn't be aimed at Democrats. It should be, hey, Republicans, where are you?
So you've got the White House and Congress in this total standoff. And when that happens, sometimes a third player steps onto the field. And that's exactly what happened here. The courts got involved. We're talking about 2 federal judges who looked at this situation and decided to weigh in, big time.
First up, you have Judge Indira Talwani in Massachusetts, and she basically just lays out the facts, right? Congress created an emergency fund. 42 million people are about to lose their food aid, and her reaction was just pure common sense. She said, and I'm quoting here, "It is hard for me to understand how this is not an emergency." You can almost hear the disbelief in that statement.
And then, at pretty much the same time, another judge in Rhode Island, John McConnell, was even more blunt. He didn't just question it, he flat out called funding SNAP a necessity. His logic was simple. The shutdown might freeze the funding, but it doesn't just erase the whole program. And that, he argued, is the entire point of having an emergency fund in the first place.
And look, these judges weren't just sharing their opinions. They issued actual orders. Judge Talwani put the administration on the clock, giving them a deadline to make a decision. But Judge McConnell, he went even further. He commanded the USDA to use the money and then report back to him. So suddenly, the legal pressure on the administration is just massive.
So, while all of this is going on, this huge national drama, it's worth taking a look at the very different picture that was being painted from the White House. The contrast in priorities is, well, it's pretty stark.
I mean, just look at this. It's like 2 totally different realities happening at once. In one column, you've got the national crisis. The government is shut down, 42 million people might not be able to buy groceries, and federal employees aren't getting paid. And then in the other column, the president's public focus was on things like renovating the Lincoln bathroom, a remodel of the Kennedy Center, and a golf trip down to Mar-a-Lago.
And just to put a number on that golf trip, during his second term, the president's 76 golf outings have cost taxpayers something like $60.7 million.
This one trip to Mar-a-Lago, that alone was another $3.4 million.
And right in the middle of this crisis, a post goes up from the president on Air Force One. But it has nothing to do with the shutdown. Instead, it's about the Lincoln bathroom renovation. He's celebrating the new look, talking about the black and white polished statutory marble, and how it was very appropriate for the time of Abraham Lincoln. He even posted 24 photos of the new fixtures.
Okay, so that brings us to right now. The judges' deadlines are looming. Where does that leave us? Honestly, in a total gridlock, and it really feels like something has to give.
First off, Congress is still completely on the sidelines. The Speaker of the House has already said they won't be doing any business next week either, so don't expect a solution to come from them anytime soon.
And the president? He's not backing down either. When he was asked about meeting with Democrats, he basically said, sure, right after they open up the country. He's putting the ball entirely in their court, saying the whole shutdown is, and I quote, their fault. Everything is their fault.
So that's where we are. And it leaves us with this huge, fundamental question. You've got Congress, the legislative branch, completely MIA. You have the executive branch refusing to budge, and now you have the judicial branch issuing direct commands. This is more than just political fight. It's a real-time constitutional showdown. And for those 42 million Americans waiting to see what happens, the question couldn't be more urgent. When the different parts of government are in a standoff like this, who actually gets the final say?